The assembly will come to order. The chief clerk will call the roll.
Assemblywoman Anderson, Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson, Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod, Assemblywoman Black,
Here.
Assemblywoman Brown May, Assemblywoman Carlton, Assemblywoman Cohen, Assemblywoman Considine, Assemblywoman Dickman,
Here.
Assemblywoman Duran, Assemblyman Ellison, Assemblyman Flores, Assemblywoman Gonzalez, Assemblywoman Gorlo, Assemblyman Hathan, Assemblywoman Hanson, Assemblywoman Hardy, Assemblywoman Howdigi, Assemblywoman Kasama, Assemblywoman Krasner, Assemblyman Levitt, Assemblywoman Martinez, Assemblywoman Marzola, Assemblywoman Matthews, Assemblyman Matthews, Assemblyman MacArthur, Assemblywoman Brittany Miller, Assemblyman C.H. Miller, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, Assemblywoman Wynn, Assemblyman O'Neill, Assemblyman Orentlicker, Assemblywoman Peters, Assemblyman Roberts, Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong, Assemblywoman Thomas, Assemblywoman Titus, Assemblywoman Tolles, Assemblywoman Torres, Assemblyman Watts, Assemblyman Wheeler, Assemblyman Yeager, Assemblyman C.H. Miller, Speaker Frierson.
Here, Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May the record reflect that Assemblyman C.H. Miller is absent excused. We have 41 members present.
There are 41 members present. There is a quorum. The assembly will please rise for the prayer by Pastor Bruce Henderson of the Airport Road Church of Christ here in Carson City.
Let us pray. Lord, as I walked into this room yesterday, several people mentioned how very busy and hectic everything is right now. So I thought a moment of quiet might be helpful. Father, please hear us in our stillness. I pray in the name of the one who said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you." Amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order Business 2, reading and approval of the journal.
Carson City, Monday.
Mr. Speaker.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to dispense with further reading of the journal and authorize the Speaker and Chief Clerk to make necessary corrections or additions.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Mr. Speaker, order business 1.
Order Business 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May the record reflect that Assemblyman Miller is present.
The record shall so reflect. We'll go to Order Business 4, reports to standing committees.
Mr. Speaker, Committee on Natural Resources, to which will refer Senate Bill 34, 438, 443, has had the submitted consideration of executive report. The same act recommendation do pass. And your Committee on Natural Resources, to which was referred Senate Concurrent Resolution 9, has had the submitted consideration of executive report. The same act recommendation be adopted. Howard Watts, Chair. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Ways and Means, to which was referred Assembly Bill 484, has had the submitted consideration of executive report. The same act recommendation do pass. And your Committee on Ways and Means, to which was referred Assembly Bill 487, has had the similar consideration of executive report. The same act recommendation do pass. Maggie Carlton, Chair.
Go to Order Business 7, messages from the Senate.
Senate Chamber, Carson City, May 24, 2021. To the Honorable the Assembly, I have the honor to inform the Honorable Body that the Senate on this day concurred in Assembly Amendment 638 to Senate Bill 4, Assembly Amendment 637 to Senate Bill 44, Assembly Amendment 535 to Senate Bill 49, Assembly Amendment 713 to Senate Bill 67, Assembly Amendment 628 to Senate Bill 75, Assembly Amendment 741 to Senate Bill 77, Assembly Amendment 764 to Senate Bill 103, Assembly Amendment 732 to Senate Bill 109, Assembly Amendment 715 to Senate Bill 150, 550, Assembly Amendment 502 to Senate Bill 173, Assembly Amendment 634 to Senate Bill 186, Assembly Amendment 612 to Senate Bill 188, Assembly Amendment 565 to Senate Bill 196, Assembly Amendment 566 to Senate Bill 209, Assembly Amendment 580 to Senate Bill 215, Assembly Amendment 632 to Senate Bill 217, Assembly Amendment 530 to Senate Bill 222, Assembly Amendment 567 to Senate Bill 229, Assembly Amendment 516 to Senate Bill 245, Assembly Amendment 515 to Senate Bill 248, Assembly Amendment 753 to Senate Bill 249, Assembly Amendment 631 to Senate Bill 269, Assembly Amendment 532 to Senate Bill 275, Assembly Amendment 708 to Senate Bill 283, Assembly Amendment 721 to Senate Bill 288, Assembly Amendment 527 to Senate Bill 294, Assembly Amendment 630, 751 to Senate Bill 307, Assembly Amendment 711 to Senate Bill 320, Assembly Amendment 570 to Senate Bill 327, Assembly Amendment 614 to Senate Bill 329, Assembly Amendment 607 to Senate Bill 344, Assembly Amendment 581 to Senate Bill 352, Assembly Amendment 582 to Senate Bill 354, Assembly Amendment 573 to Senate Bill 383, Assembly Amendment 574 to Senate Bill 387, Assembly Amendment 754 to Senate Bill 391, Assembly Amendment 613 to Senate Bill 396, Assembly Amendment 517 to Senate Bill 404, and Assembly Amendment 549 to Senate Bill 406. And I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate on this day passed as amended Senate Bills 96, 274, 291, 347, 366, 394, 2445, 454. And I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate on this day adopted Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 14. Sherry Rodriguez, Assistant Secretary of the Senate. Senate Chamber, Carson City, May 25, 2021. To the Honorable the Assembly, I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate on this day concurred in Assembly Amendment 537 to Senate Bill 95, Assembly Amendment 601 to Senate Bill 166, Assembly Amendment 500 to Senate Bill 177, Assembly Amendment 636 to Senate Bill 179, Assembly Amendment 633 to Senate Bill 190, Assembly Amendment 602, 687 to Senate Bill 203, Assembly Amendment 529 to Senate Bill 237, Assembly Amendment 514 to Senate Bill 260, Assembly Amendment 569 to Senate Bill 293, Assembly Amendment 510 to Senate Bill 332, Assembly Amendment 526 to Senate Bill 360. And I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate amended and on this day passed as amended Assembly Bill 61, Amendment 750, Assembly Bill 459, Amendment 755, and respectfully request your honorable body to concur in said amendments. And I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate on this day passed as amended Senate Bills 27, 416, 455, and I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate on this day respectfully refused to concur in Assembly Amendment 640 to Senate Bill 328. Sherry Rodriguez, Assistant Secretary of the Senate.
Thank you. I think we'll go out of order. We'll go to order business 13, unfinished business. Assemblywoman Howdigy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Order of Business 13, concur, not concur, for the purposes of considering a series of commerce and labor bills, starting off with AB 177.
We'll consider AB 177.
Assembly Bill 177, introduced by Assemblywomen Benitez, Thompson, Earl, Senators Dorniate, and Dennis, an act relating to pharmacy requiring certain pharmacies to provide certain information regarding a prescription in a language other than English under certain circumstances, requiring such pharmacies to post notice of the rights of a patient to request information in language other than English, providing immunity from civil liability for a pharmacy or employee for injuries resulting from a translation of such information by a third party under certain circumstances, and providing them as properly thereto. I have Senate Amendment 522, proposed by the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services.
Assemblywoman Howdigy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment number 522 to Assembly Bill number 177.
Assemblywoman Howdigy has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 522 to Assembly Bill 177. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Amendment 522 revises the information that must be provided in languages prescribed by the State Board of Pharmacy. It also provides that if a pharmacy enters into a contract with a third party for the translation of the required information, neither the pharmacy nor its employees are liable in any civil action for any injury resulting from the translation, as long as it is not the result of negligence.
Are there any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 522 to Assembly Bill 177 indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On to Assembly Bill 200. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 556 to Assembly Bill 200.
Hold on, we will consider Assembly Bill 200.
Assembly Bill 200, introduced by Assemblywoman Bilber Axelrod, Senator Scheibel, an act relating to veterinary medicine, prohibiting the practice of veterinary medicine except within the context of a veterinary and client-patient relationship, except in certain circumstances, authorizing a veterinarian to supervise a veterinary technician via veterinary telemedicine under certain circumstances, revising which acts constitute the practice of veterinary medicine, revising provision governing service of process, eliminating the requirement for notarization of applications for certain licenses, revising provisions governing the renewal of certain licenses, authorizing veterinary technicians to administer certain vaccinations under certain circumstances, revising certain procedures required in response to complaints against a licensee, authorizing the Nevada State Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners to issue non-disciplinary letters of correction under certain circumstances, and providing otherwise appropriately thereto. I have Senate Amendment 556, proposed by the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Okay, it's now Assemblywoman, if you want to now make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment number 556 to Assembly Bill number 200.
Assemblywoman Howdigy has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 556 to Assembly Bill 200. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment adds new sections to the bill to remove the requirement that an application be notarized. It adds a new section to the bill to provide for biannual renewals and revises various requirements for renewal, and adds a new section to the bill to revise certain requirements governing the board's investigation and disposition of a complaint.
Any further remarks? All those, seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 556 to Assembly Bill 200 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Aye. Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered enrollment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Staying under Order of Business 13 for the purposes of considering Assembly Bill number 207.
We will consider Assembly Bill 207.
Assembly Bill 207, introduced by Assemblyman Watts et al., that recommend the public accommodations, expanding the definition of place of public accommodation to include a business which offers services or goods to the general public in the state through an internet website, mobile application, or other electronic medium, and which is not operated in conjunction with a physical location which is open to the public, exempting certain online forums from the applicability of provisions governing places of public accommodation and providing otherwise appropriately thereto. I have Amendment 626, proposed by the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Assemblywoman Howdigy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment number 626 to Assembly Bill number 207.
Assemblywoman Howdigy has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 626 to Assembly Bill 207. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment revises the definition of an online establishment, and it revises the definition of a place of public accommodation.
Are there any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 626 to Assembly Bill 207 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May we stay in Order of Business 13 for the purposes of considering Assembly Bill number 222.
We will consider Assembly Bill number 222.
Assembly Bill 222, introduced by Assemblywoman Torres, an act relating to employment, revising provisions governing periods of limitation in certain civil actions concerning unlawful employment practices and providing otherwise appropriately thereto. I have Amendment 733, proposed by Senator Spearman.
Assemblywoman Howdigy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment number 625 and 733 to Assembly Bill number 222.
Can we do those together or have to do them separate? We have to do them separately.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment number 625 to Assembly Bill 222.
Assemblywoman Howdy has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 625 to Assembly Bill 222. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment deletes provisions which expressly authorize an employee who suffered certain unlawful employment practices and brings a civil action against the employer to obtain damages equal to the amount of the lost wages and benefits.
Any further remarks? There being none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 625 to Assembly Bill 222 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay. Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 733 to Assembly Bill 222.
Assemblywoman Howdy has moved that the Assembly concurrent in Senate Amendment 733 to Assembly Bill 222. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment deletes sections 1 and 2 of the bill, which proposes to codify the statute whistleblower protections.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 733 to Assembly Bill 222 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Aye. Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May we stay in order of business 13 for the purposes of considering Assembly Bill 250.
We will consider Assembly Bill 250.
Assembly Bill 250, introduced by Assemblywoman Howdy and Hardy, an act relating to insurance requiring the establishment of an open enrollment period for a Medicare supplemental policy, prohibiting an insurer issuing such a policy from taking certain actions during the open enrollment period and providing other measures relating thereto. Amendment 624, proposed by the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Assemblywoman Howdy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment number 624 to Assembly Bill number 250.
Assemblywoman Howdy has moved that the Assembly concur in Amendment 624 to Assembly Bill 250. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment provides that innovative benefits must not be considered when determining whether a Medigap policy includes the same benefits as or lesser benefits than another such policy.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 624 to Assembly Bill 250 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May we stay in order of business 13 for the purpose of considering Assembly Bill 277.
We will consider Assembly Bill 277.
Assembly Bill 277, introduced by Assemblyman Duran et al., an act relating to insurance advice and provisions relating to the exchange of medical and insurance information by certain persons involved in a claim for personal injury asserted under a policy of motor vehicle insurance and providing other matters relating thereto. I have Amendment 553, proposed by the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Assemblywoman Howdy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment number 553 to Assembly Bill number 277.
Assemblywoman Howdy has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 553 to Assembly Bill 277. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment deletes Section 1 of the bill. It deletes provisions in Section 2 relating to the exchange of medical and insurance information and provides that an insurer must disclose within 5 days a copy of the declarations page of an insurance policy.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 553 to Assembly Bill 277 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment.
Assembly Bill 290, introduced by Assemblywoman Howdy, an act relating to financial institutions requiring a trust company or savings bank that assumes the role of custodian of an individual retirement account to provide certain notice to holders of the account under certain circumstances, revising the definition of the term fiduciary for the purposes of certain provisions relating to the business of a trust company, authorizing funds held in a fiduciary capacity by a savings bank to be swept to the deposit accounts of the savings bank under certain circumstances, imposing certain requirements on savings banks relating to funds in a fiduciary account administered by a savings bank that are awaiting investment or distribution and providing other matters relating thereto. Amendment 623, proposed by the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Assemblywoman Howdy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment number 623 to Assembly Bill number 290.
Assemblywoman Howdy has moved the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 623 to Assembly Bill 290. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment adds 2 new sections to the bill to amend Chapter 669.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 623 to Assembly Bill 290 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries by a Motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered on enrollment.
Assembly Bill 298, introduced by Assemblyman Flores, an act relating to vehicles establishing the conditions under which a default by a lessee in a consumer vehicle lease may be enforced, setting forth certain requirements for a consumer vehicle lease, requiring certain lessors to use a lease agreement that satisfies those requirements, authorizing certain civil actions, or revising certain definitions for certain purposes, and providing other measures appropriately thereto. I have Amendment 622, proposed by the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Assemblywoman Hauge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 622 to Assembly Bill 298.
Assemblywoman Howdy has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 622 to Assembly Bill 298. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Amendment 622 makes several changes, including amend Section 1.5 to revise provisions concerning default regarding a lease agreement, amend Section 2 to add additional language to the required notices, amend Section 5 to remove certain provisions concerning requirements for a consumer vehicle lease, and amend Section 7, 8, and 9 to add consumer.
Any further remarks? All in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 622 to Assembly Bill 298, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay?
Aye.
Sorry.
Nay.
Motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered on enrollment.
Assembly Bill 327, introduced by Assemblyman Torres et al., Senator Doñate, an act relating to mental health, requiring certain mental health professionals to complete continuing education concerning cultural competency and diversity, equity, and inclusion, and providing other measures appropriately thereto. I have Amendment 555, proposed by Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Assemblywoman Howdy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment Number 555 to Assembly Bill 327.
Assemblywoman Howdy has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 555 to Assembly Bill 327. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment adds a joint sponsor and provides that the curriculum for the required training be based upon a range of research drawn from diverse sources.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 555 to Assembly Bill 327, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay?
Nay.
Motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment. Assemblywoman Howdy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May we stay in order of business 13 for the purposes of considering Assembly Bill 436?
We'll consider Assembly Bill 436.
Assembly Bill 436, introduced by the Committee on Commerce and Labor, an act relating to healthcare prohibiting an insurer from entering into a contract with a provider of vision care that contains certain provisions requiring an insurer to provide certain information to a provider of vision care before entering into a contract to include the provider in the network of the insurer, prescribing certain requirements concerning the advertising and marketing of vision coverage, authorizing the imposition of an administrative penalty, and providing other measures appropriately thereto. I have Amendment 619, proposed by the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Assemblywoman Howdy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment Number 619 to Assembly Bill Number 436.
Assemblywoman Howdy has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 619 and Assembly Bill 436. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment simply changes the words "or that" to "if."
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of this Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 619 and Assembly Bill 436, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered on enrollment. Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Still under order of business 13, I have a number of bills I would ask to consider. Could we please start with Assembly Bill number 42?
We will consider Assembly Bill 32, 42, 42.
Assembly Bill 42, introduced by the Committee on Judiciary, an act relating to crimes requiring certain batteries which constitute domestic violence to be charged with certain felonies and gross misdemeanors, expanding the courts that are required to conduct a jury trial under certain circumstances, revising various provisions relating to jury trials, authorizing the use of sound recording equipment under certain circumstances, making various changes regarding the jurisdiction of municipal courts, revising provisions governing the selection of jurors, establishing the right to a jury trial under certain circumstances, prohibiting a person convicted of a battery which constitutes domestic violence or the same or similar conduct in another jurisdiction from owning or having in his or her possession or under his or her custody or control any firearm, revising the circumstances under which a prosecuting attorney is authorized to dismiss a charge of battery which constitutes domestic violence, providing a penalty, and providing other measures properly in there too. There are two amendments to this bill. I have Senate Amendment 655, proposed by the Senate Committee on Judiciary.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 655 to Assembly Bill 42.
Assemblyman Yeager's moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 655 to Assembly Bill 42. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment clarifies that a previous firearm prohibition does not preclude the right to a jury trial. It also strikes language setting forth conditions under which a district attorney may dismiss a charge of battery which constitutes domestic violence.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 655 to Assembly Bill 42 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment. Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under Order of Business 13 on Assembly Bill 42, could we please consider the second amendment listed?
Oh, sorry.
Senate Amendment 714, proposed by Senator D. Harris.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 714 to Assembly Bill 42.
Assemblyman Yeager's moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 714 to Assembly Bill 42. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Amendment 714 strikes the language legal guardian from Section 13 of the bill.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 714 to Assembly Bill 42 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay. Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment. Assemblyman Yeager.
Still under Order of Business 13, Mr. Speaker, could we consider Assembly Bill number 104?
Consider Assembly Bill 104.
Assembly Bill 104, introduced by Assemblyman Yeager, enacting into actions concerning persons exempting certain records concerning a civil action for wrongful conviction from the requirement to be sealed, exempting the state from provisions governing offers of judgment in an action for wrongful conviction, exempting a judgment for wrongful conviction from interest on certain judgments, clarifying the period of time used to calculate the amount of a judgment for wrongful conviction, establishing certain limitations applicable to awards for certain items, limiting the amount of monetary compensation which may be awarded to a person who has previously obtained an award of monetary compensation or a settlement from the state or other governmental entity, requiring a person who previously received compensation for a wrongful conviction and who subsequently obtains an award of monetary compensation or a settlement from the state for the wrongful conviction to notify and reimburse the state for the amount previously obtained and providing other matters properly laid thereto. I have Amendment 656 proposed by the Senate Committee on Judiciary.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 656 to Assembly Bill 104.
Assemblyman Yeager moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 656 to Assembly Bill 104. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment captures the time a wrongfully convicted person might have remained in prison even after a conviction was reversed by revising language where appropriate.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 656 to Assembly Bill 104 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment.
Staying under Order of Business 13, Mr. Speaker, could we next go to Assembly Bill 115?
We'll consider Assembly Bill 115.
Assembly Bill 115, introduced by Assemblyman Nguyen et al., Senator Scheibel et al., enacting into domestic relations, authorizing one or more adults to petition a court for the adoption of a child, authorizing a court to waive a hearing on a petition for the adoption of a child in certain circumstances, requiring that additional information must be included in a petition for the adoption of a child who currently resides in the home of the petitioners, authorizing a court to determine that more than two people have a parent and child relationship with the child and providing other matters properly laid thereto. I have Amendment 589 proposed by the Senate Committee on Judiciary.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 589 to Assembly Bill 115.
Assemblyman Yeager has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 589 to Assembly Bill 115. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment clarifies in Section 5.2 that each prospective adopting adult and each consenting legal parent seeking to retain his or her parental rights must be considered by the court as a joint petitioner. It also clarifies in Section 5.8 that any parent who has signed a relinquishment shall not exercise or have any rights for the adopted child or the property of the adopted child.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 589 to Assembly Bill 115 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Aye. Nay.
Motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly is concurring in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Still under Order of Business 13, could we please consider Assembly Bill 158?
We will consider Assembly Bill 158.
Assembly Bill 158, introduced by Assemblyman Monroe Moreno et al., Senators Harris and Brooks, enacting into crimes, establishing and revising the penalties for certain offenses involving alcohol, marijuana, and cannabis, requiring the automatic sealing of records relating to certain offenses involving alcohol, marijuana, and cannabis, providing juvenile courts with exclusive jurisdiction over offenses relating to alcohol or marijuana committed by children, establishing provisions relating to the issuance of citations for offenses relating to alcohol or marijuana committed by children, and providing other matters appropriately in there too. I have Amendment 641 proposed by the Senate Committee on Judiciary.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 641 to Assembly Bill 158.
Assemblyman Yeager has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 641, Assembly Bill 158. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment conforms language in Section 2.2 of the bill regarding possession of alcohol or marijuana by a child with current statute, and it also adds language in various sections to ensure that the penalty structure for alcohol and marijuana offenses committed by adults between 18 and 21 years of age appears in all appropriate portions of the bill.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 641 to Assembly Bill 158 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered on enrollment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Still under Order of Business 13, may we please consider Assembly Bill 202?
We will consider Assembly Bill 202.
Assembly Bill 202, introduced by Assemblyman Yeager, enacting into gaming, revising the definition of qualified organization, revising provisions relating to the registration of a qualified organization to operate a charitable lottery or charitable game, revising provisions relating to the prohibition against the registration of a qualified organization to operate a charitable lottery or charitable game in certain circumstances, establishing provisions concerning online ticket sales conducted by qualified professional sports organizations, and providing other matters appropriately in there too. I have Amendment 659 proposed by the Senate Committee on Judiciary.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 659 to Assembly Bill 202.
Assemblyman Yeager has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 659, Assembly Bill 202. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment prohibits the use of video lottery terminals and restricts the use of mobile lottery ticket sales machines to within a sports team's home, arena, or stadium and the grounds thereof. And it also adds to the definition of qualified organization an entity that is registered with the Secretary of State as a charitable organization that solicits charitable contributions.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 659, Assembly Bill 202, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Aye. Nay.
Motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered enrollment.
Still under Order of Business 13, Mr. Speaker, could we please consider Assembly Bill 214?
We will consider Assembly Bill 214.
Assembly Bill 214, introduced by Assemblywomen Considine and Krasner, enacting into sexual assault, revising the definition of sexual assault by replacing gendered language with gender-neutral language, requiring the Advisory Commission on the Administration of Justice to appoint a subcommittee to conduct an interim study concerning sexual assault and to make a report to the Advisory Commission, and providing other matters appropriately in there too. I have Amendment 498 proposed by the Senate Committee on Judiciary.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 498 to Assembly Bill 214.
Assemblyman Yeager has moved that the Assembly concur in the Senate Amendment 498 to Assembly Bill 214. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment requires the Advisory Commission to appoint a subcommittee to conduct an interim study concerning sexual assault and to make a report to the Advisory Commission. It clarifies certain language regarding which person is being referenced, and finally, it adds a senator as a co-sponsor.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 498 to Assembly Bill 214 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Aye. Nay.
Motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered enrollment.
Mr. Speaker, under Order of Business 13, could we consider Assembly Bill 237?
We will consider Assembly Bill 237.
Assembly Bill 237, introduced by Assemblywoman Howdy, enacting real property, establishing the process for the Real Estate Division of the Department of Business and Industry to investigate complaints alleged in violations of provisions governing certain fees which may be imposed or charged by a unit owners association for a common interest community, revising provisions pertaining to the applicability of certain provisions of law governing the creation, alteration, and termination of common interest communities, prohibiting a unit owners association from imposing or charging certain fees other than or in excess of those that that the association is expressly authorized or required by statute to impose or charge increasing the cost of a demand or intent to lien letter, revising provisions relating to the exemption from providing certain information in the case of certain dispositions of a unit in a common interest community, requiring certain notice to be provided for a foreclosure sale, revising provisions relating to the sale of real property consisting of several lots or parcels, revising provisions regarding the ascertainment of title of real property to be partitioned, making certain technical changes and removing certain obsolete provisions, revising provisions concerning instruments that subordinate or waive priority of a mortgage or deed of trust of, lien upon, or interest in real property, revising provisions relating to certain liens on real property and providing otherwise properly in there too. I have Amendment 237, or excuse me, Amendment 658 proposed by the Senate Committee on Judiciary.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 658 to Assembly Bill 237.
Assemblyman Yeager has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 658 to Assembly Bill 237. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment revises Section 1.5 of the bill to clarify that consistent with current statute, the Real Estate Division of the Department of Business and Industry may issue necessary fines, and the Commission for Common Interest Communities and Condominium Hotels may hear any appeals.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 658 to Assembly Bill 237 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Oh, sorry.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered enrollment.
Still under Order of Business 13, Mr. Speaker, may we consider Assembly Bill 286?
We'll consider Assembly Bill 286.
Assembly Bill 286, introduced by Assemblywoman Hattigan, an act relating to crimes prohibiting a person from engaging in certain acts relating to unfinished frames or receivers under certain circumstances, prohibiting a person from engaging in certain acts relating to firearms which are not imprinted with a serial number under certain circumstances, providing penalties and providing otherwise properly in there too. I have Amendment 543 proposed by the Senate Committee on Judiciary.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 543 to Assembly Bill 286.
Assemblyman Yeager has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 543 to Assembly Bill 286. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment provides that a firearm manufactured before 1969 is not subject to the provisions contained in Section 5 of the bill. It clarifies that nothing in the bill prohibits the sale of an unfinished frame, receiver, or firearm to an importer, manufacturer, or dealer licensed under federal law before January 1, 2022, and it adds a co-sponsor to the bill.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 543 to Assembly Bill 286 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered enrollment.
And Mr. Speaker, still under Order of Business 13, may we please consider Assembly Bill 394?
We'll consider Assembly Bill 394.
Assembly Bill 394, introduced by the Committee on Judiciary, an act relating to civil actions providing that behavioral health specialists performing mobile crisis intervention services are immune from civil liability under certain circumstances and providing otherwise properly in there too. I have Amendment 662 proposed by the Senate Committee on Judiciary.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 662 to Assembly Bill 394.
Assemblyman Yeager has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 662 to Assembly Bill 394. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment ensures that immunity only applies to those who will actually be providing mobile crisis intervention services by amending the definition of behavioral health specialist by removing physicians in general, but adding both MD and DO board-certified psychiatrists.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 662 to Assembly Bill 394 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered enrollment.
And finally, Mr. Speaker, under Order of Business 13, may we please consider Assembly Bill 400?
We will consider Assembly Bill 400.
Assembly Bill 400, introduced by the Committee on Judiciary, an act relating to public safety, revising provisions relating to prohibited acts concerning the use of marijuana and certain other controlled substances, establishing provisions relating to administrative suspensions of commercial driver's licenses, permits, and driving privileges, and providing otherwise properly in there too. I have Amendment 722 proposed by the Senate Committee on Judiciary.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 722 to Assembly Bill 400.
Assemblyman Yeager has moved that the Assembly, what about doing? I'm sorry, you said 722? I lost my list.
Correct, Mr. Speaker. The motion is to concur in Amendment 722 to Assembly Bill 400.
Assemblyman Yeager has moved that the Assembly concur in Assembly Senate Amendment 722 to Assembly Bill 400. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment provides that the per se limits for marijuana no longer apply to misdemeanor offenses, but remain applicable to felony DUI offenses per current statute. Also provides that drivers of commercial motor vehicles cannot be under the influence of alcohol or have any detectable amount of a federally defined Schedule I controlled substance in their blood. And also provides that the Department of Motor Vehicles may sanction both the employer of a driver of a commercial motor vehicle and the driver himself or herself for having an amount of alcohol of 0.04 or more, but less than 0.08, or any other detectable amount of a federally defined Schedule I controlled substance.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 722 to Assembly Bill 400 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered in enrollment. Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We stay in order of business 13 for the purpose of considering Assembly Bill number 19.
We'll consider Assembly Bill 19.
Assembly Bill 19, introduced by the Committee on Education, an act relating to education, revising the academic subjects that constitute social studies, exempting standards of content and performance for courses of study in public schools from certain requirements governing the adoption of regulations and providing other matters properly thereto. I have Amendment 512 proposed by the Senate Committee on Education.
Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod.
Mr. Speaker, I move the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment number 512 to Assembly Bill number 19.
Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 512 to Assembly Bill 19. Remarks?
Senate Amendment 512 deletes Section 1, which relates to changing the subject, including within social studies core academic subject for homeschool children.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 512 to Assembly Bill 19 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Aye. Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment.
Mr. Speaker, may we stay in order of business 13 for the purpose of considering Assembly Bill 57.
We'll consider Assembly Bill 57.
Assembly Bill 57, introduced by the Committee on Education, an act relating to education requiring that pupil growth account for 0% of certain teacher and administrator evaluations for the 2021-2022 school year, requiring that pupil growth account for 15% of certain teacher and administrator evaluations beginning with the 2022-2023 school year, temporarily suspending the requirement to develop learning goals for pupils to measure pupil growth, clarifying that pupil growth accounts for 0% of certain teacher and administrator evaluations for the entirety of the 2020-2021 school year and providing other matters properly relating thereto. I have Amendment 616 proposed by the Senate Committee on Education.
Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment number 616 to Assembly Bill 57.
Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 616 to Assembly Bill 57. Remarks?
The amendment removes the 2021 and 2020 to 2021 and 2022-2023 school years from the years in which pupil growth accounts for 0% on a teacher or administrator's evaluation, and it adds language that would hold teachers harmless who do not meet their student learning goals in the 2020-2021 school year.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly adopting Senate Amendment 616 to Assembly Bill 57 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay. Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly concur in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment.
Mr. Speaker, I stay in order of business 13 for the purpose of considering Assembly Bill 88.
We'll consider Assembly Bill 88.
Assembly Bill 88, introduced by Assemblyman Watts et al., an act relating to governmental entities requiring the Board of Trustees of a school district, governing body of a charter school, or governing body of a university school for profoundly gifted pupils to adopt a policy prohibiting the use of certain racially discriminatory identifiers, authorizing the Board of Trustees of a school district, governing body of a charter school, or governing body of a university school for profoundly gifted pupils to use an identifier associated with a federally recognized Indian tribe in certain circumstances, prohibiting a county, city, or an unincorporated town from surrounding areas from surrounding certain sirens, alarms, or bells, requiring the Nevada State Board of Geographic Names to recommend changes to the names of geographic features or places that are racially discriminatory, requiring the board to report annually to the legislature or the legislative commission as applicable on any recommendations and providing other matters properly thereto. I have Amendment 539 proposed by the Senate Committee on Education.
Assemblywoman Bilber Axelrod.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment Number 539 for Assembly Bill Number 88.
Assemblywoman Bilber Axelrod moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 539 to Assembly Bill 88. Remarks?
The amendment prohibits the use of sundowner sirens in municipalities in Nevada and adds a co-sponsor.
Are there any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 539 to Assembly Bill 88, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly is concurring in the amendment. The bill is ordered in enrollment.
And finally, Mr. Speaker, stay in order of business 13 for the purpose of considering Assembly Bill Number 105.
We will consider Assembly Bill 105.
Assembly Bill 105, introduced by Assemblyman Roberts et al., Senators Hammond et al., and Actland Interscholastic Activities, requiring any board form to govern the Nevada Interscholastic Activities Association to include at least 3 members who are parents or guardians of pupils who participate in a sanctioned sport, requiring any advisory board to a governing board to include at least 3 members who are pupils currently participating in a sanctioned sport, establishing certain requirements relating to the residency and terms of such members who are parents, guardians, or pupils, and providing other matters properly thereto. I have Amendment 540, proposed by the Senate Committee on Education.
Assemblywoman Bilber Axelrod.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment Number 540 to Assembly Bill 105.
Assemblywoman Bilber Axelrod moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 540 to Assembly Bill 105. Remarks?
The amendment adds a requirement that the parent member on the governing board must not be an employee or immediate family member of an employee of a charter or private school in addition to the school district.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 540 to Assembly Bill 105 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered in enrollment. Assemblyman Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Still under order of business 13, concur, not concur. May we please consider Assembly Bill 71?
We'll consider Assembly Bill 71.
Assembly Bill 71, introduced by the Committee on Natural Resources and Actland Conservation, providing with certain exceptions that certain information related to a rare plant or animal species or ecological community that is included in the data systems maintained by the Division of Natural Heritage of the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources is confidential and providing other matters properly thereto. I have Amendment 651 proposed by the Senate Committee on Government Affairs.
Assemblyman Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 651 to Assembly Bill 71.
Assemblyman Watts moved the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 651 to Assembly Bill 71. Remarks?
Thank you. The amendment requires the Administrator of the Division of Natural Heritage of the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources to make a reasonable effort to notify an owner of private property if the Administrator releases any confidential information related to the specific location of a rare plant or animal species or ecological community that is located on the owner's property.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 651 to Assembly Bill 71 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly has concurred in the amendment. The bill is ordered in enrollment.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, still under order of business 13, may we please consider Assembly Bill 84?
We will consider Assembly Bill 84.
Assembly Bill 84, introduced by the Committee on Government Affairs and Actland Wildfires, authorizing the State Forest or Fire Warden to enter into certain public-private partnerships, authorizing the State Forest or Fire Warden to purchase or acquire certain equipment for the early warning or detection of wildfires and providing other matters properly thereto. I have Amendment 642, proposed by the Senate Committee on Government Affairs.
Assemblyman Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 642 to Assembly Bill 84.
Assemblyman Watts moved the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 642 to Assembly Bill 84. Remarks?
Thank you. The amendment adds authorization for the State Forest or Fire Warden to purchase or acquire by donation cameras and other equipment necessary for the early warning or detection of wildfires.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 642 to Assembly Bill 84 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly concurs in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Still under of Order Business 13. Lastly, may we consider Assembly Bill 85?
We will consider Assembly Bill 85.
Assembly Bill 85, introduced by the Committee on Natural Resources and Relating to Agriculture, revising provisions relating to the control of noxious weeds and providing other measures appropriately thereto. I have Amendment 575, proposed by the Senate Committee on Natural Resources.
Assemblyman Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 575 to Assembly Bill 85.
Assemblyman Watts has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 575 to Assembly Bill 85. Remarks?
Thank you. The amendment requires the state quarantine officer to hold a public meeting and consult with each applicable state agency or department or governing body of a local government which has jurisdiction over any public right-of-way in the specific geographic area or areas before temporarily designating a weed as a noxious weed.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 575 to Assembly Bill 85 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly is concurring in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment. Assemblywoman Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we may remain in order of business 13 for the purposes of considering Assembly Bill 181.
We will consider Assembly Bill 181.
Assembly Bill 181, introduced by Assemblywoman Peters, and relating to mental health, providing for the reporting of certain information by certain providers of health care relating to attempted suicide, requiring certain insurers and other organizations providing health coverage to adhere to certain provisions of federal law, requiring certain insurers and other organizations providing health coverage to submit information demonstrating mental health parity and addiction equity compliance, providing penalty, and providing other matters appropriately thereto. I have Amendment 520, proposed by the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services.
Assemblywoman Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in the Senate Amendment 520 to Assembly Bill 181.
Assemblywoman Nguyen has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 520 to Assembly Bill 181. Remarks?
The amendment deletes references to suicide and died by suicide. It also requires the State Board of Health to adopt regulations governing the healthcare providers who are required to report a case or suspected case of attempted suicide, and authorizes a medical facility to report required information on behalf of the healthcare providers who work at the facility.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 520 to Assembly Bill 181 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly is concurring in the amendment. The bill is ordered to enrollment.
Mr. Speaker, may we remain in order of business 13 for the purposes of considering Assembly Bill 287?
We will consider Assembly Bill 287.
Assembly Bill 287, introduced by Assemblywoman Monroe, Brano, Peters, and Thomas, and relating to health care, revising certain terminology relating to pregnancy and birth, providing for the licensing and regulation of freestanding birthing centers, requiring a freestanding birthing center to perform certain screening, report certain information to the local health officer, and make certain information available to the chief medical officer, authorizing the Maternity Mortality Review Committee to access certain information, eliminating the licensing and regulation of obstetric centers, and providing other matters properly thereto. There are two amendments on Assembly Bill 287. We have Senate Amendments 587 and 729.
Assemblywoman Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly concur in Senate Amendments 587 and Amendment 729 to Assembly Bill 287.
We'll do one at a time. Assemblywoman Nguyen has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 587 to Assembly Bill 287. Remarks?
Amendment 587 replaces the obstetric center with the term freestanding birthing center and requires such centers to meet certain requirements currently applicable to obstetric centers, and also provides additional requirements. Requires freestanding birthing centers to be licensed as and comply with provisions governing medical facilities, declares existing regulations governing those centers void, and requires the State Board of Health to adopt specific regulations governing the licensure and operation of freestanding birthing centers, and also authorizes the Maternal Mortality Review Committee to access information in the state system for reporting on cancer and other neoplasms.
Any further remarks? There being none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 587 to Assembly Bill 287 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. Assembly is concurring the amendment. The bill is ordered enrollment. Assemblywoman Wynn.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I move also that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 729 to Assembly Bill 287.
Assemblywoman Wynn has moved that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 729 to Assembly Bill 287. Remarks?
This amendment revises provisions regarding who can serve as the director of a freestanding birthing center.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 729 to Assembly Bill 287 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly is concurring the amendment. The bill is ordered enrollment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is my last under Order of Business 13 for the purposes of considering Assembly Bill 345.
We will consider Assembly Bill 345.
Assembly Bill 345, introduced by Assemblyman Ortlicker, an act relating to drug paraphernalia, providing that it is not unlawful to provide, administer, or use a testing product for certain purposes, exempting a person or entity acting in good faith and with reasonable care from professional discipline and civil liability for providing, administering, or using a testing product for those purposes, excluding testing products from the list of drug paraphernalia that is prohibited for delivery, sale, possession, manufacture, advertising, or use in the state, and providing other matters relating thereto. I have Amendment 584, proposed by the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services.
Assemblywoman Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 584 to Assembly Bill 345.
Assemblywoman Wynn has moved the Assembly concur in Senate Amendment 584 to Assembly Bill 345. Remarks?
Yes, the amendment provides that it is not unlawful to provide, administer, or use testing product to assist a person in determining whether a controlled substance contains chemicals, toxic substances, or hazardous compounds, exempts a person or entity who acts in good faith and with reasonable care in making such a determination from professional discipline and civil liability. It further expands the exclusion from the definition of drug paraphernalia from fentanyl test strips to testing products generally, and makes the bill effective upon passage and approval, and adds a co-sponsor.
Any further remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Assembly concurring in Senate Amendment 584 to Assembly Bill 345 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries by a constitutional majority. The Assembly is concurring the amendment. The bill is ordered enrollment. Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson, I have one additional order business 13. There being no objection, the Speaker and the Chief Clerk will sign Assembly Bills 139, 143, 254, 258, 261, 278, 302, 304, 307, 316, 318, 325, 336, 344, 348, 360, 362, 378, 390, 397, 398, 409, 414, 421, 430, 435, 450, 452, 476, Assembly Joint Resolution 3, and Senate Bills 84, 102, 107, 112, 138, 141, 145, 151, 168, 172, 184, 193, 204, 247, 251, 259, 268, 284, 285, 289, 303, 305, 309, 311, 357, 362, 363, 364, 368, 370, 371, 372, 376, 379, 398, 400, and 408. Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we may stand in a one-minute recess, the Chair of Ways and Means has a bill introduction.
We will.
1 minute recess.
1 minute recess.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Having established a quorum for Ways and Means at this time, we have a bill introduction. BDRS 1066 makes appropriations to the legislative fund for capital improvement projects, one-time building maintenance, information technology purchases, and dues for national and regional organizations. Any questions or comments from any committee members at this time? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion from Vice Chair Monroe Moreno, a second from Dr. Titus. Any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any in opposition? Hearing no opposition, passes unanimously of the members present. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Assembly will come back to order. We want to go to order business 9.
Yes, sir, thank you.
And go to order business 9, introduction, first reading, reference bills.
Senate Bill 96, introduced by Senators Orenthal et al., Assemblywoman Carlton, enacting disability services requirement, Department of Health and Human Services to biennially establish reimbursement rates for the services of certain providers for persons with autism spectrum disorders that are comparable to reimbursement rates paid by Medicaid programs in other states, requiring the department to establish certain limitations relating to the provision of such services to recipients of Medicaid, providing for the reporting of to the legislature or the legislative committee on health care of certain information concerning the provision of such services to recipients of Medicaid, requiring the Autism Treatment Assistance Program to publish certain information on the internet website of the program and take certain actions when there is a waiting list for services for the program, requiring the department to seek an increase in certain reimbursement rates for a registered behavior technician under Medicaid program, the Autism Treatment Assistance Program, and the Children's Health Insurance Program, making appropriations and providing other measures appropriately thereto. Senate Bill 274, introduced by Senators Ratty and Canizaro, enacting child welfare, providing for the licensure of receiving centers for commercially sexually exploited children, and the certification of certain other facilities and entities that provide services to such children, imposing certain requirements concerning the operation of the receiving center, revising the actions that an agency which provides child welfare services is required to take in response to a report of the commercial sexual exploitation of a child, delaying the effective date of provisions prohibiting the adjudication of a child as a delinquent or the assignment of a child to a detention facility in certain circumstances, providing penalty and providing other measures appropriately thereto. Senate Bill 291, introduced by Senator Lang, enacting cosmetology, providing for the licensure and regulation of advanced estheticians and instructors of advanced estheticians by the State Board of Cosmetology, setting forth certain requirements for licensure as an advanced esthetician or instructor of advanced estheticians, setting forth certain requirements for the performance of certain procedures performed by an advanced esthetician, prohibiting an advanced esthetician from performing certain procedures, requiring the board to prescribe a curriculum for a course of study to advanced aesthetics, establishing certain fees relating to licensure as an advanced esthetician and an instructor of advanced estheticians, revising provisions relating to schools of cosmetology and cosmetological establishments, authorizing the board to, for a certain period of time, issue a license as an advanced esthetician or an instructor of advanced estheticians to certain persons who would otherwise not qualify for such licenses, and providing other measures appropriately thereto. Senate Bill 347, introduced by Senator Scheibel, enacting to higher education, creating the task force on sexual misconduct at institutions of higher education, prescribing the membership duties and compensation of the task force, authorizing the Board of Regents of the University of Nevada to appoint researchers to develop a climate survey on sexual misconduct, authorizing the Board of Regents to require the institutions within the Nevada system of higher education to administer the climate survey to students, authorizing the imposition of additional requirements for the grievance process at an institution within the system, authorizing the Board of Regents to require each institution within the system to adopt a policy on sexual misconduct, enter into a memorandum of understanding with certain organizations that designate an advocate, prohibiting an institution within the system from imposing certain sanctions on certain students, authorizing the Board of Regents to require an institution within the system to take certain actions regarding a report of an alleged incident of sexual misconduct, providing for certain training and programming relating to sexual misconduct, authorizing a student who has experienced sexual misconduct to request a waiver from certain requirements of scholarships or academic activities, authorizing the Board of Regents to require an annual report from institutions within the system on certain information relating to sexual misconduct, authorizing the Board of Regents to adopt regulations making certain information relating to incidents of sexual misconduct confidential, and providing other measures appropriately thereto. Senate Bill 366, introduced by the Committee on Judiciary, enacting juvenile justice, authorizing the juvenile court to order a child who has been found incompetent to receive treatment at certain facilities operated by the Division of Child and Family Services of the Department Department of Health and Human Services, requiring such a facility to accept such a child for treatment, prohibiting a child found to be incompetent from being committed to the custody of a correctional facility, allowing a child found to be incompetent to petition to seal his or her record, requiring the submittal of certain data and information relating to the competency of children, requiring the development and submittal of a plan for the structure of services for the competency of children, and providing other measures appropriate thereto. Senate Bill 390, introduced by the Committee on Health and Human Services and related to behavioral health, providing for the establishment of a suicide prevention and behavioral health crisis hotline, exempting a telecommunications provider from certain damages relating to the hotline, requiring the imposition of a surcharge on certain communications services to support the hotline, creating the Fund for a Resilient Nevada, requiring the Attorney General to deposit the proceeds of certain litigation into the fund, authorizing the Department of Health and Human Services to use the money in the fund for certain statewide projects, and to award grants to various public and private entities to address the impact of opioid use disorder and other substance use disorders, prescribing certain procedures relating to the awarding of those grants, and providing other measures for the thereto. Senate Bill 420, introduced by Senators Canizaro, Assemblyman Benitez, Thompson, and Frierson, enacting to insurance, providing for the establishment of a public health benefit plan, prescribing certain goals and requirements relating to the plan, requiring certain health carriers to participate in a competitive bidding process to administer the plan, requiring certain providers of health care to participate in the plan, exempting rules and policies governing the plan from certain requirements, requiring the executive director of the Silver State Health Insurance Exchange to apply for a federal waiver to allow certain policies to be offered on the exchange, requiring certain persons to report the abuse and neglect of older persons, vulnerable persons, and children, requiring the state plan for Medicaid to include coverage for the services of a community health worker and doula services, requiring the state plan for Medicaid to include certain other coverage relating to pregnant women if money is available, requiring the establishment of a statewide Medicaid managed care program if money is available, making appropriations and providing other means appropriate thereto. Senate Bill 445, introduced by the Committee on Finance and Acting State Purchasing, prohibiting certain provisions of certain contracts, revising provisions relating to advertisements for certain bids or proposals, revising certain requirements relating to the purchase of prescription drugs, pharmaceutical services, or medical supplies from an entity other than the purchasing division, revising the authority of the clerk of the State Board of Examiners to approve certain contracts and providing other measures appropriate thereto. Senate Bill 454, introduced by the Committee on Finance and Acting Agriculture, requiring an applicant for the recording or re-recording of a brand or brand marks or marks that pay a certain fee, authorizing the State Department of Agriculture to establish and collect certain other fees, increasing certain periods for the re-recording of brands and marks from 4 years to 5 years, requiring certain applications to be submitted electronically or in writing, requiring certain notices to be sent electronically or in writing, requiring the department to furnish certain owners with an electronic copy of certain certificates and providing other measures appropriately thereto.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, wait,
move
are we
that
not done?
Order.
I'm sorry, Madam Chief Clerk, were we done? I heard the pause, but I see there's still some more.
We are looking for them. Senate Bill 27, introduced by the Committee on Education and related to education, authorizing the superintendent of public instruction to investigate persons subject to his or her jurisdiction, revising the membership of the Commission on Professional Standards in Education, revising the requirements related to certain reports relating to local school precincts, authorizing the State Board of Education to delegate authority to suspend or revoke a license to the Department of Education, revising provisions relating to the Teach Nevada Scholarship Program, revising provisions relating to the policy for parental involvement required by federal law, and providing other measures for thereto. Senate Bill 416, introduced by the Committee on Finance, and Act making appropriations of the Department of Taxation for the replacement of information technologies, hardware and software, and printers, and providing other measures for thereto. Senate Bill 455, introduced by emergency request of Senate Majority Leader Senator Canizaro, and Act relating to radiation, revising the qualifications to perform computed tomography and fluoroscopy, and providing other measures for thereto.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate bills shown on Senate bill introductions dated May 25th, 2021 be referred to the committees as shown.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I'm going to go to order business 8 briefly.
No, Mr. Speaker, I've got one more. I believe it's the bill that we just handed in. So would that be?
Do we have, okay, under order business 9?
We also have 3 bills that were not on the list.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate Bill 27, 416, and 455 be referred to your Committee on Ways and Means.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Oh, one of them we haven't introduced yet. Which one?
Assembly Bill 489, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means, an act making appropriation to the legislative fund for capital improvement projects, one-time building maintenance, information technology purchases, and dues for national and regional organizations, and providing otherwise for the line there too.
Assemblywoman Benitez-Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 489 be referred to your Committee on Ways and Means.
Without objection, so referred. I go to order business 8.
Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 9, introduced by the Committee on Education, expressing support for the Nevada system of higher education to work collaboratively in its science and research efforts addressing the needs of the Lake Tahoe Basin. Resolved that this resolution becomes effective upon adoption. End of resolution.
Assemblywoman Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we, I motion that approve?
Adopt.
Adopt, thank you. Senate Concurrent Resolution 9.
Assemblywoman Peters has moved that the Assembly adopt Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 9. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Concurrent Resolution 9 encourages and supports the Nevada System of Higher Education, or NSHE, to work collaboratively among its institutions on science and research efforts addressing the specific needs of the Lake Tahoe Basin.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopting Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 9 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries. The resolution is adopted. In order to resolution.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 14, introduced by Senators Dennis et al., Assemblyman Flores et al., memorializing former District Court Judge John P. Cherez. Resolved that this resolution becomes effective upon adoption. End of resolution.
Assemblyman Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly adopt Senate Concurrent Resolution 14.
Assemblyman Flores has moved that the Assembly adopt Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 14. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Concurrent Resolution 14 memorializes former District Court Judge Don Chides. Order of Business 15.
Order business 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had the privilege of meeting Don Chides when I think I was 14, 15 years old, after my father had met him, and my father met a Latino attorney for the first time, and he spoke with him and said, look, my son's interested in becoming an attorney. The very next week, a 14-year-old, 15-year-old me had the opportunity to sit with him for about 5 or 6 hours in his office. He showed me how to prep a file, how to speak to clients. He talked to me what it was like for a Latino to navigate through a world where often Latinos were not a part of. He gave me a lot of very meaningful advice that I carry with me to this day. So I just wanted to rise in support of this Senate Concurrent Resolution. He was a great mentor to me, a great friend, and I know that was true for a lot of other young brown kids who had never had an opportunity to look up to an attorney and see a man who was doing something that we all wanted to do. I know he's won a bunch of awards, but me personally, there's advice that I carry with me now thanks to that conversation he had with me when I was 14, 15 years old. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopting Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 14 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion carries. The resolution is adopted. In order to the resolution file. Assemblywoman Benitez-Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think we have finished our business before us for the day. Seeing no other matters before the body, I would move that the Assembly adjourn until Wednesday, May. Let me roll general file, that's right. Got you all nervous, huh? Mr. Speaker, under Order Business 8.
Order of business 8.
I move that Assembly Bill 40-189, Assembly Bill 484, Assembly Bill 47, Senate Bill 34, Senate Bill 295, Senate Bill 438, and Senate Bill 443 be taken from their place on general file and be moved to general file for the next legislative day.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Assemblywoman Benita Thompson.
Thank you so much. Mr. Speaker, seeing no other business before us, I would move that the Assembly stand adjourned until Wednesday, May 26th.
I'm sorry, Assemblywoman, there's another, presumably order of business 15, Assemblywoman Kasama.
Thank you, Speaker, and order of business 15.
Order of business 15.
I would like to introduce in the gallery, I have Bert Gurr and Lee Gurr. They drove all the way down from Elko. Bert was the president of the Elko Association of Realtors. Lee was also the president for the Elko Realtors twice. And they both have been real estate commissioners for the state of Nevada. And so they drove all the ways down to see the people's business. And I just wanted all of us to welcome them for that drive and to be here with us today.
Assemblywoman Benita Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Seeing no other business before us, I move that the Assembly stand adjourned until Wednesday, May 26, 2021 at the hour of noon.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Assembly Ed goes straight to the room.